When you're mixing vocals, there's a lot of plugins you have to keep in mind, because we all know we have to go through EQ, compressor, maybe you want to have a saturator, then you have to find your delay, and then you find your reverb, and then maybe you want to be creative and actually make your voice into a synthesizer. There's a whole bunch of things you can do to actually have fun with vocals. So we decided to give you guys the top 10 Waves plugin for Pro Vocal Mix. All right, let's go right into it. Number 1, you want to autocorrect your vocals, use Waves Tune Real Time. It'll tune your vocal and you'll just really be happy about the result, or you can really go into the nitty-gritty, into really focusing on the proper scale, the details of which notes you want your vocal to stay on, have a faster speed, faster transitions. If you want to autocorrect here on the top right, just like 20% or 80%, depending what you're using it with. And often it's not like the singer was off key, it's just that sometimes you're a bit flat or a bit sharp, and you just don't want to have that. If you want to have a radio ready, you know, vocal, you just add it sometimes to be sure that you're spot on the right note. So that's without.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
This is with.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
So I would definitely highly recommend Waves Tune Real Time, only because it's really easy to use. You just plug it, it sounds good from, you know, the second that you put it on. Now the second plugin I highly recommend is Waves Harmony. And the reason why is because it's completely magical. Sometimes you're in the studio, you're recording vocals, and then you're like, let's take like 2 to 3 hours to record back vocals, to pan left, right, and have the octave up and octave down and find the third. And at one point you just realize that you have a bunch of vocals to edit, and it just takes a really long time. And so instead what you can do is create an instrument. And the reason you do that is now you sort of have free control over what chords you want to use from your piano, right? So if I'm in C major, let's say, I can already decide which harmonies it's going to create. And you have just a bunch of choices that are really, really, really nice. You have to find the one that fits with your song, obviously. All right. And what you want to do in sidechain, you want to choose which vocal you're working on. So right now I'm working with the lead.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
I really like it. Let's put it in context.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
It's really cool. Really good plugin to have. So that's number 2. Number 3 you want to add on your list is the Scheps Omni channel. Mostly because it has everything you need between an EQ, a de-esser, a gate, a preamp that uses saturation to make sure that your vocal stands out from your mix. You have a compressor as well. It's really an all-in-one plugin to make really sweet vocals. And it comes with a bunch of presets, and then you just tweak it as you want. And so you start with the preamp, you gate it if you need, de-esser to control those S's. The EQ, you can get rid of the 300 Hertz if you feel like it's too boomy. You can excite it more in the highs, and then you compress the hell out of it, and it'll sound juicy. So for example, this is without.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down? Could you hold me when I'm feeling?
It was one click. Like sometimes I just want to have a quick mix. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time to find something that works super well. Scheps Omni channel, it's definitely in the top 10. Now number 4, the J37. J37 is a beauty. It's a tape simulator, but beyond that, it'll also have a delay integrated in it. It makes any vocal sound smooth and beautiful and great. This is without.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
Now this is with.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
Has a nice beautiful delay to it. I just created a room so you leave it at 16 here. I often do that if I don't actually want to hear the delay. I just want to create a room like it's doubled. It sounds really good. And at the bottom, you can play with the saturator a bit if you want it to be a bit more exciting. And on the bottom right with the delay, you can choose if you want ping pong, if you want slap, It's a beautiful plugin to have. J37, a must-have, definitely in the top 10. Now, something you might enjoy using is the Ovox from Waves. If you're the type of person who's always been particularly interested into having vocals transformed into synths, and I'm not just talking about changing the format, I'm not just talking about putting some distortion, I'm really talking about having your vocal as a source and then really creating a synthesizer from scratch from it. So what you want to do is actually create an instrument, a little bit like what we said before about harmony. The technique is sort of the same for this one, where you don't want to use it as a plugin on your channel strip, you want to put it as a software instrument. First thing you want to understand is you're using it as an instrument, and so you want to make sure you're side chaining the source, which is the lead vocal. Next thing you want to do is in the middle, when you see note source, you want to make sure you change it to MIDI, and then once you do that, you actually want to record your piano roll.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down? Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
Ah, that's beautiful. That was a good one. Did you know that there is something you can use called a vocal writer from Waves that will automatically automate the volume of your lead vocal so that every soft word or every loud word will be automatically adjusted so that you can have that linear volume throughout the song. Let's go somewhere in the song where it makes sense.
I hope you're peaceful in paradise. Someday I'll meet you and see the sights.
These little guys, you can see these are louder, and at that moment sort of went down, and the second it goes quieter, it automatically went up. And that's just default. I didn't even play with it and already sounded good. And again, this is not like compressed. This is really just a natural way of putting the right volume at the right word that will help you get sort of a linear feel. That's a very powerful plugin to use. CLA Vocals is extremely powerful. So there's 6 components that it comes with. So you can adjust the bass, the treble, you can compress your sound, add reverb, delay, and putting it wider, having a spreader on it so it'll create a bit more width to your vocal.
I hear the wind through the palm trees. I hear your voice like you're next to me.
So you can easily imagine how like magical that is as a last plugin. So like you've positioned your EQ, you've positioned your compressor, you've fattened up your production, everything is there, but you want that last little bit that'll just make sure that your vocal stands out from the mix in a very nice way. I'd say CLA Vocals would definitely be something to use to do exactly that. Number 8, Ovox is a really simple compressor, a must-have. You don't have to break your head about all the transients, if it's the right attack, if it's the right release, if it's the right threshold. It's the most easy plug-and-play compressor you can have for vocals. And the only thing I would recommend if you want to use this properly is that you want to highlight both of them, the compressor here at the center and the gain on the right. And the reason why you select both is that because you're going to drag both down at the same time, compressor often gives you the feeling like it's getting louder. And then you're sort of like, ooh, it sounds great, but you're actually not tuning in to how the compressor is affecting the audio. You're focusing on the fact that it's louder, so it must be better, which is not really the case. So what you want to do is you select both of them, compress it. The volume won't go too high, so you can really focus on how the compressor is pumping that vocal. And then once you find that sweet spot where you're like, okay, I like how the vocal is sounding right now, then you can bring up the gain again. Let's do it before and after.
I can be strong for you, paradise.
And then with.
I can be strong for you in paradise.
Beautiful. It sounds great. So Ovox, definitely a must-have recommendation for sure. So I did this on purpose. Number 9 is the CLA-2A. Why am I saying it's on purpose? It's because I wanted to compare the Ovox, which is a compressor, with the CLA-2A that is also a compressor. It's a little bit more complex than the Ovox, so obviously we have to understand what we're doing with our compressors. You have the gain on the left and the peak reduction on the right. The gain explains it. You add gain or you remove some gain, so you have to make sure that you're not peaking. And then peak reduction is how much you're squishing or how much you're making sure that when you hit a higher volume, it'll bring it back down a little bit. I'm going to play with it and position it in the mix. This is with.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down? Could you hold me when I'm feeling down? Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
Ah, that was beautiful. Come on. CLA-2A, a great compressor to have. Must have. Finally, number 10. I recommend the H delay from Waves. It's obviously endless what you can do with it, right? From all the presets you can choose from, the fact that you can tap in your tempo if you want to choose something that's more in milliseconds. Do you want something that's more lo-fi? Do you want ping pong, or do you just want left and right? You have to play with it. What I like to do is I put it 164. And what happens when I do that is that the delay is so quick that it just feels like you have like double vocals left and right that are just a little bit out of sync, and it just feels like a short room.
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
Right? Sounds great. In context?
Could you hold me when I'm feeling down? Could you hold me when I'm feeling down? Could you hold me when I'm feeling down?
So there you have it. 10 plugins that you can use to mix your vocals like a pro. Be sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you follow Waves because we have plenty more coming up. If you have questions or you have suggestions or there's things you want to learn or know about, leave a comment below. And be sure to follow us because we'll be making more of these for sure.